At 7-0 up, you'd never have the major champions losing this series. The Falcons, however, struggled to deal with 100 Thieves' bold anti-stratting, and when you combine Rain's straight disrespect for utility with some Falcons mistakes that no one picked up when the game was going on live, you get some incredible rounds of Counter-Strike to break down. I want to start with the first full gun round for both teams on this CT side collapse from Falcons, and it's now 9-5 after 100 Thieves pulled off the pistol, but still a commanding lead for Falcons. And there's a lot that goes into this first very important gun round, and the first one being the fact that 100 Thieves walk dry through a smoke. You can see they pop out here at 1 minute 39 on the clock, and that's going to be important. And as these three players walk through mid, m0NESY is going to be caught completely off guard, and that's a completely free opening for 100 Thieves. And when I saw this, I was very curious. Why would you be so confident walking through a smoke? It's not like you have Tech 9s or pistols here and you're taking a complete gamble. And so what I did, I went and watched how Falcons played middle for every single round of the major when they played Anubis, obviously. And Nico's the mid player, and this is how he normally plays when he smokes early. He spams at about 1 minute 43, 1 minute 42. And what I worked out going through all these rounds is about 80 to 85% of the time this is how the mid hold comes off. So if you're 100 Thieves, you plan for this. You're like, okay, let's get into middle. If we don't see a spam or this Molotov, which is normally thrown when they're actually playing middle, we're in a great position to abuse a tell and give ourselves an 80% chance to win this round. However, in this round, there's another part, which is this double kill Rain got outside A main on Falcon seemingly just being confident and dry peeking him. But Falcon's strategy here actually makes a lot of sense. They have less utility going this round than 100 Thieves. There's Galils on the other side that they know about from the previous round. So what they want to do is use this nade from m0NESY to push off the strong angle that Rain's in and take the more advantageous fights, hopefully versus Galil with their two M4s and not have to enter this deep utility battle. However, Rain just sees that nade coming through the window, tanks it because he knows the position's more important than dodging that little bit of damage, and he wins the two fights because of it. And that second kill onto Nico is particularly crisp, and we're going to see a little bit more of this as the map goes on. But before we get there, 100 Thieves had to survive this force buy, which you can see involves Grismy walking up mid here. He takes out m0NESY, but gets traded here by Nico. At the same time this is happening, Karrigan has thrown his smoke at E-Box here and is going to capitalize on the fact that 100 Thieves are a little bit careless. Look at all these sound cues being made. It sounds like we're going towards B, which is why you can see those Falcons players rotating in the background on the X-ray. But as we're again making sound cues running away, Karrigan's going to peek out, and it's not the cleanest thing in the world, but he creates that 4v3 situation, Now Tessus is here, he does a good job of surviving, and we can see that Falcons again are doing a great job of pincering this site. Device is going to get tagged and forced to run away, and then as that was going on, I'll rewind slightly, Karrigan's going to flash for Kaiosuke to go through with 1 HP, and they're going to trade out Rain here. You can see there's Rain, and Rain goes down now. I'm just keep pausing because there's a lot going on here, but again, back towards Device, Tessus going first with the pistol. We're going to also trade Device and create a 2v1 situation. And this is probably where people are going to start thinking, what the heck was Karrigan doing here? I think it's probably not, Karrigan doesn't quite register the HP that Nico's on. But the reason Karrigan looks like he's playing like a madman here, spamming, and then dying, I'll go back again even more because it looks even funnier. Reloading, he knows the players here, he's spamming, is because as he dies, what this means is he finds out where Poi is, and then Nico now has an angle advantage and knows exactly where this player is trapped. And with the bomb plan in the open, it's not as advantageous as Karrigan probably would have liked, but that's why Karrigan is spamming like a madman. And Nico does eventually get this line, even after dodging the flash, and if he'd hit this headshot, we'd probably be talking about this game a little bit differently. Round 17 is the easiest of lot to explain, and again it's a calculated risk from 100 Thieves. Tessus loves to jiggle in the middle here with util out. We saw him do it at the major and almost get caught, but he uses it very successfully most of the time. Now obviously m0NESY will also AWP here, so if you swing like Rain does here and Tessus isn't in this position, you've completely thrown the round, because if there's two players here or that AWP, you're just going to go down and there's not really much you can do. But 100 Thieves and Rain, you can see the way he peeks this now. He knows that Tessus likes to jiggle here, again completely abusing the fact that's where he likes to play, and it's a very simple detail this time, but it's more evidence of the counter-stratting that 100 Thieves did. And this is Tessus using today's sponsor SCL, and if I highlight all the rounds where he's jiggling, you can see it's about 30% of the rounds here, at the time that Rain kills him, look at all the jiggling going on, we can see how 100 Thieves might have come to this conclusion. And quickly for comparison, you can see Monacy is only here 11% of the time. It's legitimately the tool I use when preparing for these videos, and it would save you a heap of time if you're trying to prepare for an opponent or use their playbook feature to run your own amateur team. Individually, it's great too if you try and just get better at playing a different position or understand what the pros are doing here. You don't have to be anti-stratting Nico to make it useful, so use code Elmapuddy40 at checkout for 40% off what's already a very reasonable deal. The equalizer round now, and I can unfortunately no longer praise 100 Thieves this one. This is fully Falcon's undoing. You can see the default utility thrown very simply from 100 Thieves, and besides that, they're sitting very passive around the map. They're taking no map space whatsoever. They're waiting and seeing what Falcons are doing. And it's going to look like with Device here holding B main and also middle with Grismy, that we're going to have the Falcons force the issue. You can see Tess is just going to walk. Nothing from 100 Thieves to indicate why they would do this. And we're going to get contact on Device with the AWP, who luckily misses. But then these players aren't on the same page. Nico goes down, and then Tessus cops a nade to create a 5v3 situation. And we have to look at Carrigan's point of view to understand this wasn't just impatience from the Falcons members, it was a failed strategy. Carrigan missed some utility thrown over from B, which was supposed to make this look like a B main fight, but because that smoke doesn't land, Device isn't distracted or even feel like he has to help out Poi, which means that when they walk forward, they're surprised to see Device there, and the fight just kind of turns into chaos, and Nico and Tessus don't know how to take this one together. I'm pretty sure the smoke from Carrigan, he was aiming one brick too low, and it should have looked something like this, which means anyone trying to support that B main player in a position maybe like Device was, sees that smoke come in, sees he can no longer help, and has to move up to a position like this to be able to try and trade out and peek. Or if you're playing more here, again, you can't see anything, right? You're going to try and get yourself in this position to come through on timing to play off your player who's committed to the B main default, which 100 Thieves actually had in this scenario, but that smoke doesn't land, which means Device is fully chilling back in his position here, where we saw him get the first contact. 100 Thieves then convert the anti-force buy, and we get into a situation where they now have the lead. And we're going to see a mid setup here from Nico and Monacy, but a really nice double flash, double molly play from 100 Thieves. You can see completely catches Monacy off guard, who's just fully blind, but Nico does trades. That's a nice little mid take from 100 Thieves. But in a scenario like this, we now have a 4v4, and you're down 10-9 when you had such a big lead. It takes one individual moment of brilliance to completely change the series and put yourself in a really difficult situation. And this is going to be Rain's next big round, is in this 4v4. Kaiosuke looks like he has a decent angle here, but just so sharp from Rain on these angles, and he's going to continue in here, taking out Carrigan as well. Tessus and Nico were actually doing the right thing here, being proactive when they push on A main, which does catch them Device here and give them a chance in this round, but there's just not enough delay on that B side of the map, which I want to talk about in a second. Good flash here from Nico as well, creates a 2v2, so you think a 4v2 would be unwinnable, but they create the 2v2. I'm going to keep fast forwarding this because there's a lot of obviously searching for angles and stuff, but you can see what Falcons are doing. They have to try and win these two fights because there's two angles here in main. Once Tessus gets traded and Nico doesn't get that kill, if you're curious how he didn't get it, he simply pulled off the gun for some reason. I think he probably thought he had to go back and defuse the bomb, and then he's forced to push out here with that bomb ready to explode and gets taken out. Now, the thing about delay on B I want to talk about quickly is the previous round, this was Falcon's buy. They forced up a little bit to try and win this one, which means when on this round that we just watched, they decide to double AWP, they have low utility on particularly Carrigan, who was on that B side of the map. So think about if we just had one extra Molotov, maybe Tessus and Nico's peek and A comes through at a better timing, and we don't get completely wiped off that side of the map. Maybe I'm being a little bit critical, but ideally on big rounds like this, you want all the utility if you can have it. After yet another half buy, we get back into the gun rounds, and Carrigan in particular has a couple of big ones. This one, particularly with his E-box hold and then repositioning here really well to catch that flanker and then also take out the third player coming through the smoke, sends us to an 11-12 scoreline. And this final round is a great one. It starts off with that double Molotov, double flash mid take we saw catch Monacy off guard earlier. And one thing I love about Falcons is they keep taking the fights where it makes sense. Nico moving up here after the Molotovs and they think it's clear is great. Even the 5v4 with Monacy, he goes looking for more. Grismy does take him out, but I like that play from Nico. I think it makes a lot of sense in that situation. Over at at B, we're gonna see the exact same thing where Karrigan almost gets caught backing off here, but knowing that they're gonna be focusing on him, Kaisuke takes an aggressive but smart peek in this situation to create a 4v3 scenario. I can see why he's going for those peeks and they're not holding back despite the fact they're about to get eliminated in last place. So the confidence is still there, which is great. The stabilization is good. We have these players backing off, playing passive at B. Tessus is giving A, ready to play the man advantage, and Monacy's just ready to rotate in and hold this mid walk. Now, what's going to happen here is Kaisuke takes out Rain, and we have this 4v2, which I'm going to pause at right now. So, Falcons 4v2, I know it's a meme, but there's a couple of things going on here that are important. Karrigan's ready to hold this swing out of E-box that goes wide, and Monacy is about to rotate in here and pick up main. Now, Kaisuke goes for the same peek we just saw with the utility flying out and gets caught in the side by Grismy. Tessus now has this, and this is going to be the other issue in this scenario. Unfortunately, he misses this shot. And despite Karrigan, again, he's on fire these last few rounds, hitting this shot, he's going to get team flashed by Tessus here, forces him away, and that's a free kill for the T-side player. Now, in the 2v1, again, it's well played from Falcons. Monacy gets this right-hand side of the pillar and holds, but when he swings and kills, Tessus is unable to trade, and that's Falcons eliminated. I'll be co-streaming the rest of Blast over on Twitch, so please follow me there. If you like this kind of content and you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and thank you all very much for watching.